Hello. Oh, it's working. Okay, so I'm going to be here for max half an hour talking about A-level maths and how you're feeling about the exams, which are in, what, 3 weeks, I think? 3 weeks tomorrow. And what I'm going to be working on in the lesson, which is at 6 o'clock, the Tailored Tutors lesson. So I think what I'm going to be doing, I mean, we've already talked about predictions. My predictions for maths, this is really easy. Pretty much every topic will come up. You can have a look at all the past papers ever in maths. Everything always comes up. Everything is assessed somehow. So it's not really about whether or not it's going to come up, it's about how many marks it will be worth when it comes up. It's more about predicting that and predicting like the exact style. Now, you can't predict the style of question. I don't know. There is no way of me knowing whether it's going to be a tangent or a normal. Absolutely no way. Even if you add up recently all of the tangents and all of the normals, I still think it would be more or less 50-50. But I can tell you that about 20 to 30 marks, that's a grade, will be for differentiation. 20 to 30 marks will be for integration. 20 to 30 marks will be for writing words and sentences. 20 to 30 marks will be for algebra stuff, basically graphs, quadratics, completing the square, discriminant, simultaneous equations. 20 to 30 marks will be for coordinate geometry. And I cannot remember the sixth one. There were 6 that were all like the big 6 that you need to sort of put your effort into. I can't remember the sixth one. I'm gonna have to look it up. But those are the ones, hiya, I can't remember what the 6th one is. Those are the ones where you should put your effort, because any effort that you put in that area is going to give you loads of marks. Whereas, yeah, I got wordy, got differentiation, integration, coordinate geometry, algebra stuff, words. I swear there was one more thing. Where's the document? I'll have a look on the document. But yeah, it's not like, with maths, it's more about like being able to, oh, I can't see the document. It's not in my recent things, and therefore, as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't exist. I've only got like, that's my way of filing. Did I open it recently? And if not, I don't know where it is in my computer. Excellent, excellent. Right, so yeah, but there is another layer to the prediction. So definitely you should be focusing not on using textbook questions, but using exam papers. You should definitely be doing repetition, because with maths, doing it once, it really isn't going to particularly get it into your head. You've got to do it lots of times. But the thing that you could also do is to look at things which are unlikely to come up, but if they did, they would be worth a decent amount of marks, like 6 or 7. So for example, parametric integration, and what was the other one I was going to do today? Parametric integration and sketching inequalities. I just spelled sketching totally wrong. So do you know what, Mariam, if I was doing, what is it, MEI, it's 15 marks, right? It's 15 marks that essentially you can't prepare for. Somebody asked me a similar question about edXL this week on the course, which was about one of these triangle questions where you've got like a triangle and then another triangle kind of stuck on the side of it, and then this angle is A and this angle is B, and then there's the angle A plus B, and then you've got like various sides, and you've got to go, okay, so that angle there, and then that makes sine of that, and like the comment that I got was, should I spend ages trying to really get my head around this, or at this stage is it not worth it? And I really thought about it, and in the end I said, honestly I think it's not worth it, because, and I'll tell you the reason why, because it's not the same as everything else in maths, and your comprehension paper is the same as this, it fits into the same category. It's not the same as the whole rest of the A level, which is that if you've done 3 of them, you can probably do the 4th one. Those ones where they have like a triangle on a triangle, and you have to sort of spot some sort of right angled triangle somewhere, and then use sine and cos, and it's like a proof. you can do 1,000,000 billion proofs and still I could give you a proof that you can't do. And I think the comprehension paper is like that. And I think that those triangle-y ones, geometry ones, are like that as well. Not to say they're not worth practicing, but there was one on, I can't remember which exam board it was, but one of the new spec papers, there was one like that with triangles, and it took me flipping ages, and I got so angry with it, and I couldn't see which, and then, but when I looked at the mark scheme, it's like, oh, it's obvious. There's that right angle triangle there. I know what it was. It was rectangles leaning against each other. I don't know if you've seen that. It's on edXL. Rectangles kind of like leaning like that against each other. And when you see the mark scheme and then you work backwards and you realize there's a little right angle triangle there and that angle is that and something, then yeah, it's obvious. But you know, I've done all the past papers ever. I've been doing A-level maths literally every day for about 15, 20 years, and I couldn't do that question. So I would say that the comprehension paper, the proofs in all of the new specifications, and the sort of geometry triangle-y ones, don't not do them at all, because at least if you've got some familiarity, you might not be quite so stressed about them and you won't be feeling like, oh my God, I can't do any of this. But I don't think you should let yourself stress. That 15 marks that you're talking about, I'd say 10 of those across, if you think those 3 papers, imagine 5, 5, 5. If you can get 5 extra marks on paper 1, 5 extra marks on paper 2, 5 extra marks on paper 3, that is that 15 marks. And you can do that by practicing finding your mistakes, by practicing checking your accuracy, by practicing all those techniques. You can go up 5 marks, 5 marks, 5 marks, you know? Oh, Iftikhar, the one with the rectangles like this, isn't it like, it's so hard to see what is going on. It's so hard. I think I'm better at calculus and algebra and stuff. What else have we got? Apart from AQA topic test and specimen in 2018, what? Jasmine, apart from them, what? Oh, what else is worth doing? Okay, so I would say that you've got the AQA specimen in the AQA 2018. You've also got the edXL specimen in 2018, and you've got the OCR specimen in 2018, which if you've got the revision kit, I've chopped those up and put them into the AQA course in a way that makes sense for AQA. But it's just those questions from OCR and edXL, new spec. So you've got plenty, but I would say with those ones, do them in full test conditions and don't allow yourself to go, oh, I just dropped a few, that was silly, I wasn't, no. Just keep doing them. Like if you can do them in test conditions, then you're probably absolutely fine. After that, there's in the topic course in the revision kit, there's all of the questions from all the old spec all chopped up and arranged by topic, so you could focus on a particular topic that you find difficult. I mean, just do maths basically. I would say just do maths, but regularly do it in the conditions that you're going to have to do it in, because there's a big difference between doing maths in a kind of like relaxed way and doing maths in a stressed way. And you know, I used to do this with my students. You know, the countdown music that I'm not going to sing because I can't sing, but you know, the countdown music with the clock, and then it like goes it goes like that. I used to put that on in my classroom really loud when I was giving them tests to do, and they would like go crazy at me and get really stressed and be like, I can't think with it on. But that's the point. The point is that in that exam room, your brain is in a different space, and you need to be able to do maths under pressure, not do maths. And they are different things. They're very different things. So a lot of students will, you know, for example, if any of you had the situation where you like, if you think not so much now, but during the year where in class you're fine, but then on the homework you can't do it, or you're fine in class and you thought you were fine on the homework, and then you do like a test at some point and you can't do it, and you don't know why you can't do it, and it's because you never actually put yourself in that position. You always had the mark scheme to hand, you always had the teacher to hand, you always had, it was always a different environment that you were working in. So the more that you can over the next few weeks force yourself for a little bit of time, ideally every other day or something like that, to do some maths in. Yeah, the textbook questions are in general easier, and then they chuck in a random stupid one, which is so hard, and it's like degree level, even though it's only using A-level things. It's really, really hard. And then, you know, so yeah, textbooks are not what you need at this time of year. You need past papers, and you need to be doing them in test conditions, is what I would say. The word questions, I actually just about an hour ago started putting up the document for the word questions. It is in the ultimate guide in the pure maths course right at the top, and in the revision kit it's in the topic based course right at the top. And at the moment I've done 3 papers. I've done AQA, paper 1, paper 2, paper 3. So I'm gonna, now that I've got a structure for it, it'll be much quicker. And I asked for a bit of feedback. I got some feedback from students that said they thought it would be helpful. So it'll be quite long, but basically what I've done is extracted all of the word questions from the AQA. I'll do Edexcel next. Or maybe I'll do OCR next and then Edexcel, because most of you are at Excel. So OQR, yes. OCR will probably be more useful for you. No, that's not in the free trial, but seriously, okay. I think it is worth you getting the revision kit for the next 3-4 weeks. I honestly, how much is that going to be? I can't even remember. I think there's a voucher going around for 10% off at the moment. It's like 40 quid. Is there any student, honestly, truly, I don't know who's in here, but are there any students in here that have tried it that would agree with me that for the sake of 40 quid, it is worth getting it for the next 4 weeks? It means you've got all the past papers. It means you've got videos and everything. And more importantly, it means you can ask me questions. Literally, this 40 quid, I used to charge more than 40 quid an hour. And you can literally ask me questions all the time, and I'll get back to you. Plus you get the web classes as well. The next web class is in 3/4 of an hour at 6 o'clock. And I'm going to be asking everyone what they want to do, but I think we should focus on some things that maybe teachers haven't gone over, that if they come up, they'll be worth a lot. So sketching inequalities, not solving, sketching, and like naming the parts on a coordinate axis that's been shaded with inequalities, parametric integration, hypothesis testing for correlation, and what else was I thinking of doing? Parametric integration, sketching, hypothesis testing for correlation, and connected particles when they're both on the slope. Yeah, Mariam, do it now, and I'll do the thing like literally just before I start. I'll just go on and check. Yeah, so I'm going to be doing less obvious things today, I think. Like, we've been focusing a lot in the classes on the big topics, the big things that are going to come up. And yeah, I will, Naomi, don't worry, I'll do it. Excellent. Do you think, I mean, I honestly, vectors, do you know what? The reason I haven't focused on vectors a lot is it doesn't seem to be being assessed a lot. They don't seem to be as focused on it as I thought they might be. When you read the specification, it's a bit like, oh, vectors is a really big, important thing now in the pure. But actually, maybe that's a reason to do it. Maybe that means it's going to come up this year in a big way. So, okay, we'll do vectors as well. Parametric integration, sketching inequalities, vectors, hypothesis testing for, maybe we should do some current bond stuff as well. 3D vectors, hypothesis testing for correlation, and maybe we should try a current bond one, because there's a few people, I've noticed there's a lot of people signed up for this one that haven't been with the course all year. Does anybody not know what the current bond questions are? We could try one of those. Sigma notation. Yeah, Sigma notation is one of those things, it really, like, it seems hard, but they're really not hard. They're really not hard at all, the Sigma notation ones. You just have to not panic, really. I would say definitely at the moment, what you should be doing is loads of integration, loads of differentiation, loads of quadratic-y graph sketchy things. have a look at that word questions document, because that is worth as many marks. Those sentences are worth as many marks as the whole of differentiation. So it's really, really important. If you're going to do one thing from mechanics, the thing that is worth the most marks is constant acceleration. So SUVAT VT projectiles, okay? And then if you're going to do one thing from stats, then it's hypothesis testing. So normal, binomial, and correlation. That's that. If you do that, if you do those pure things and those stats things, you're already on a C without even looking at anything else at all. Okay. So yeah. So current bun question is, and they haven't actually asked this yet, so it is a possibility that it could come up, because they do like these they do like in this new spec the ones that are a bit like twisted in on themselves, the questions where you have to do something and then use it in another way. So a current bun question is, I need to think of one that isn't to do with the Poisson distribution, which is what current bun is to do with the Poisson distribution. Oh no, maybe I can, okay, wait, I'm making one up. Okay, so I'm going to be talking about the length of cats, okay? And the length of cats in centimeters is distributed how? You tell me. How, in what way would the length of a cat in centimeters be distributed? What would its distribution name be for the length of a cat in centimeters? If you don't know this, we have a serious problem with 3 weeks to go and you don't know. Good, excellent, normal. So the length of cats is going to be is distributed normally, and the mean is going to be like, I don't know, how long is a cat? Like 50 centimeters, say. The mean is 50 and the standard deviation is like 12. Okay, so let me just write this down so I don't forget what I'm doing. So it's normal 50, 12 squared. Okay, like this. Right, then I am going to say 5 cats are chosen at random. 5 cats are chosen at random. What is the probability that no more than 3 are more than 42 centimeters long? What is the probability? 5 cats are chosen. What is the probability that no more than 3 are more than 42 centimeters? That's a current bun question. I'll write it down. What did I say? 148 or 142? Doesn't actually matter, but I just wondered what I said. I think I said 142. Okay, this is the question. Yeah, so what is happening? This is a standard structure of question. And so if you can recognize it, the way to recognize it is that it's got 2 more thans in, or it's got a more than and a less than. What's the chance, or even it's got an equals and a more than or something. So I could say, what's the chance that 2 are more than this? Or what's the chance that less than 2 are less than this? Or so it's got these 2 things in. And what you need to do is separately define the 2 things. So you define oh yeah, I did. Good point. That would be quite a big cat. Good point. 42. So the big thing is to define your variables. So we have got this one, which is their normal 50 and 12 squared. That is the length of the cats. Now, using this distribution, we can work out what the chance of an individual cat being more than 42 centimeters is. Yeah? Using the normal distribution, what is the chance that an individually chosen cat is more than 42 centimeters, blah, blah, calculator. Now, your 5 that you've chosen, and the reason this was called current bun is that normally when I first taught it, it was a packet of current buns. So there's 6 current buns, and then it was the number of currents in each bun. So it would say, what is the chance that 2 of the buns have more than 13 currents? What is the chance that at least half the buns have at least 16 currents? That kind of thing. But that number of currents was modeled by a Poisson distribution, which you don't do anymore. So now it would be almost certainly a normal inside a binomial. So the binomial distribution is these 5 cats. So I've got the 5 cats. This is a binomial distribution. Are you or are you not bigger than 42 centimeters? Yes or no, yes or no, yes or no, yes or no. So that's binomial, 5, comma, and then P is what you get from the normal. So the probability of an individual cat being more than 42 centimeters is what you got from the normal distribution, okay? In hypothesis testing, overestimate or underestimate, when they say, is it, okay, basically, do you mean for the alternative hypothesis? So the alternative hypothesis is what the person is claiming. So the person will be saying, I think that the mean is lower than that. That would be a less than. I think the mean is higher than that. I think there is correlation. I think there is negative correlation. I think there is positive correlation. Or I think the probability is more than that. Or I think the probability is less than that. So you have to isolate within the information what the person who is making the claim is saying. If it's a binomial, they're saying something about the probability. If it's normal, they're saying something about the mean of the population. And if it's correlation, they're saying something about the correlation. So the null hypothesis for binomial is always P equals what we thought it was originally. For normal, the null hypothesis is mu equals population mean. And for correlation, H naught, the null hypothesis is always rho is 0, always, okay? And then the alternative hypothesis, it depends what the person's saying. You have to read the question and think, like, is that person saying that I think it's going to be bigger or I think it's going to be smaller? That's your alternative hypothesis, okay? I can't imagine you would lose 12 marks for accuracy because there is method, okay? So if your method is correct, then you'd probably lose 6, not 12, but that is still a lot. That is still a lot. And that is why it's really good practicing in test conditions and having a TID sheet. Do you know what a TID sheet is? You could start that right now and go up half a grade just by using a TID sheet. Definitely over the next 3 weeks. So yeah, I mean, what do you, those of you who've got the course, would you say, I know there are a lot of people at the moment, and I genuinely understand this, thinking like there's 3 weeks, seriously, how much can you go up in maths in 3 weeks, given that I've just been revising for 3 or 4 weeks and I don't seem to have made any progress whatsoever, and it's just too much. I mean, we were asking students recently, like, what do you think is the minimum time that it would be useful? Those of you who've actually got the course that I made, what do you think? Do you think if somebody had it for a week, it would still be useful? Or do you think you need a month with it for it to make a difference? Like, what's your honest opinion of like how long it would be useful for, if you see what I mean? So people who haven't got it now, do you think it would be useful for people who haven't got it now? Do you think it could still make them go up a grade? Yeah, I agree, Naomi. It does depend on the person, because obviously if you get it and then don't actually use it or just click through the videos and watch me doing maths, then you're not going to make any progress. But I think if you're using it wisely, you're asking me questions. There's loads of people who've got both the ultimate guide and the revision kit that never ask me any questions. You know, like if you're stuck, ask me a question and then I'll explain it to you. And if you don't get it, I'll explain it to you again. And you can ask at any time of day. That's kind of the point. Yeah, you definitely need to put the time in though. There's no way I can get around that. So for the Bunn hypothesis, is the binomial 5? Yeah, that sounds about right. 0.7475. Yeah. And then what did we say? What's the no more than 3? We said, I'm going back to this Bunn hypothesis. We said, what is the chance that no more than 3? Now, binomial, please write this down. Whenever you do binomial, just write down a little list of numbers like this. Like, you don't have to write down, if it's binomial 250, you don't have to write 0 to 250, but if it's like around 16, just write down 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. And then think about what it actually means to be whatever it says in the question. So in this question that I made up, it was no more than 3. Exactly, so no more than 3. You look at those numbers and you think, okay, this is no more than 3. So 0 or 1 or 2 or 3. So it's the probability that it's less than or equal to 3. You know n, you know p, you can stick it in your calculator, done. Okay. Statistics, what you should focus on, honestly, truly, just using that, I'm not even joking, just using that will probably give you an extra 5 marks. Maybe 5 is an exaggeration. What's it out of? Statistics is out of 50. No, it could be 5. It could be 5. Yeah, it could be 5, because what students do is they go slightly wrong. They go less than rather than less than or equal to with binomial. Or say we wanted like these ones, they would do 1 minus and then put 4 in the calculator instead of 3. It's so simple. Tiny little things like that can boost your grade up, because, and this is how it's linked to the TID sheet, because what you do on that sheet, things I did, on that sheet, instead of writing down like I made a mistake, or like, oh, I did the wrong number for the binomial. What you do on the things I did sheet, you have one piece of paper, and when you realize that you've done something that's cost you a mark, you have to think how to phrase it on that piece of paper. So for example, say with this one, you didn't write down these numbers, and you read it and it said no more than 3, and you did the probability it was less than 3 instead of less than or equal to. Then what you would write on your things I did sheet is misinterpreted, and actually write the sentence, misinterpreted, whatever it was, at no more than 3, misinterpreted no more than 3 as probability that x is less than 3. Then, right, you get this piece of paper, you use it all the way through the next 3 weeks, and what you'll find is that the same things keep coming up. You won't realize now that you are making the same mistakes over and over, but you're doing so much maths that you're not spotting that pattern, so you're not dealing with it. And by condensing all these mistakes, not things you didn't know, but literally just mistakes, just nonsense things, the things that you look at and go like, oh, so angry. Like, who was it who was saying about the hypothesis test, dropped like 6, 10 marks or whatever for not doing something, a tiny little thing right. If you start to realize that the same thing is going on this sheet over and over, then it's going to really focus you on not doing that thing, and then you're going to pop up 5 marks. So yeah, there is all these topics to learn, but what a lot of A-level students who are revising don't realise is that there's actually at least 1 grade in just focusing on the things you can already do and not screwing them up. Like, even if you learned nothing else, imagine if all the things you did do didn't contain any errors. That's a grade up, isn't it, already? So it is really, really important. For integration, GDA is basically backwards chain rule, but I really hate backwards chain rule. I really hate backwards chain rule because students, the product rule is a rule, the chain rule is a rule, the quotient rule is a rule, and then you start integration and you're told that there's the backwards chain rule. So students try to use it like a rule, like you divide by the derivative of the inside, and it's nonsense. It doesn't make any sense at all. GDA is a way of thinking about integration. And actually, for those of you that are in the course, I don't know if a lot of you notice, but the Revise with Ronnie course, this week I put up I think it's 6 action hours. So each one is 45 minutes long, and it takes you all the way from how do you integrate using guess, differentiate, adjust, all the way through to fractions, integrating trig, parts, and substitution. So in 6 45-minute blocks, you're going to get super good at integration. So that's in the Revise with Ronnie course if you want to have a look. I did it this week. It stands for guess, differentiate, adjust. So what you do is you look at an integral and you guess what got differentiated to make that thing. Okay, you look at it and you use your knowledge of differentiation, nothing to do with integration, use your knowledge of differentiation and you think, what would I have differentiated to get that? And then that's your guess. Then you differentiate your guess and then you have a look and you go, right, that compared with the thing I was going to integrate, does it need adjusting? Like maybe the only thing that's wrong is it needs a minus sign, or maybe the only thing that's wrong is it needs to be divided by 2 or something like that. So it's just a process of, Iftikhar, I actually wouldn't be surprised if students didn't finish, but having said that, I marked 9 MAO1, 9 MAO2 and 8 MAO1 last year, and there was no evidence that students weren't finishing it. But I do, the timing is the same. It used to be 75 marks in 90 minutes, and now it's 100 marks in 130, in 100, how many minutes? 120 minutes. So it's the same timing, but I've done all those past papers. Oh my goodness, by the time you get to question 12, 13, 14, 15, I'm exhausted. So I do think it is really, really important that you push yourself to do these 2-hour practices and try to get your speed up, which is one of the things that happens when you repeat papers. I know it won't feel like it. It'll feel like you're just cheating, but you're not. You're learning how to do algebra more quickly. So that will help you in the real exam. Okay. Yeah, I'd be surprised if there was an issue with timing, because the people who are writing them are really, really experienced, and there's no new writers in Edexcel. I'd be surprised if there was new writers in AQA or OCR. So they know what they're doing in terms of how long things take. But I still think you should practice a lot. Do you know what, Naomi? I'm not sure about that, doing it backwards, because the thing is, I'm not sure there's a really good strategy, because when you're more tired and stressed, you make more mistakes. So if you're doing the easy questions last, you might drop more marks, if you see what I mean, because you might drop accuracy marks where you're doing a lot of questions and actually you should have got those accuracy marks. Whereas on the really hard question, if you start on a hard question and then you can't do it, that's going to knock you really badly. Whereas if you can get halfway through the paper without getting too stuck, you're going to start to be like, okay, this is going all right. All right, one more question, because then I need to go finish preparing. The revise with Ronnie, I mean, me and Rich have been kind of playing around with it to see what's most useful, and we haven't had a huge amount of feedback yet. The idea at the beginning was to talk you through that TT process of how to use papers. But what we realized is that if you join then 3 or 4 weeks into it, then you feel like you've got to go back to the beginning. So last week I did a mechanics paper, sort of taking you through how to use a mechanics paper to get a bit better at mechanics. This week I focused right down on just integration, and I'm still not sure what to do next week. I'm kind of waiting for feedback on what I've done so far, but I wouldn't worry about getting through them. I think at this stage you should be using TT method with your papers, and that is going to get you the most progress. Absolutely, 100%. Yes, well, in the lesson I will be doing paper 1, but don't actually, paper 1 is fine because you're all doing pure for paper 1. Yeah, but do you know what I would do? I would just drop 15 marks because of the comprehension. So what? So what? Like, just have a go at it, but like, just assume it's not out of 300, it's out of 285, and just focus on the other 285. Like, think about the investment and the output. If you invest an hour, like say, for example, the integration I've just done, those 6 45-minute sessions, okay? You could do 6 45-minute sessions, and I guarantee you will be way better at integrating at the end of it. And that's going to get you 30 marks, 20 or 30 marks, which is a grade. Okay, you could spend 6 hours practicing comprehension, going through all the old OCR, MEI, C4 papers with the comprehension sections. You could go through all of them for 6 hours, probably 12 hours, and then you could go back to this one and not be able to do it. And also those comprehension papers, they're not actually assessing any other knowledge. They're assessing your confidence and ability with the rest of the spec. So the more that you focus on the rest of the spec, the more chance you've got to be able to blag a few marks out of those 15. I wouldn't let it worry you. Absolutely everyone is in the same position as you and is not excited about the comprehension bit. Sack it off. Don't worry about it. Seriously. It's just, thank you. I just got these, they're new. Right. I need to go plan my lesson. Good luck with physics. I did physics a couple of years ago. I got an A, but it was, yeah, much harder than I was expecting, the physics exam. Yeah, you only have to find the critical region if it specifically says. Right, I will see you all, possibly all of you. Those of you who aren't on Tailored Tutors, just go and make an account and I'll see you in the lesson and I'll work with you almost one-to-one practically over the next 3-4 weeks and you'll be totally fine. Those of you who are in it, go and register for the class and then I'll accept you now and then I'll see you in 25 minutes. See ya.